So, WWDC, we're going to rattle through.
Yes,
As Matt
liquid
mentioned,
ass.
Everything is now version 26, because it's mostly going to be in use throughout 2026.
Except the macOS is still macOS Tahoe.
Apple
And
marketing
26.
still can't count. This
They
is liquid
redesigned
glass.
everything.
They did redesign everything.
Slightly.
But not as everything as you might think.
This looks like, you know, in, what, 2015, 2014, where you'd have an Android and you'd get those apps that could do, like, you know, Apple lock
Launchers.
screen, like the launchers on it. It looks like that to me.
It does look like a bad...
It does. The reason we call it liquid ass instead of liquid glass is because it does just look like that.
It looks
Yeah.
like
It's
it's
terrible.
too in your face, in my opinion.
I've kind of slowly got used to it, but at first I don't disagree. I also think it's interesting how much didn't change, in that, you know, it's used by billion-plus people. They need to make sure that actually how people use it.
They can still use it
yeah.
after the update.
Well,
yeah.
they have to balance that with making it look new and exciting. So a lot of the iconography itself is the same, but they've kind of given it a new appearance to try and balance those two things. So we are starting... That's on all the Apple platforms, by the way, at the same time, which is the first time they've ever done something like that. We start with iOS.
It's the same issue that Google's Material You have is over on sort of Google stock Android, which is this will work for all the apps that have a compatible icon.
To be
then you'll
fair-
have one app you use that it doesn't work with.
In iOS, they laid almost all the groundwork last year with the dark mode ones, so the adoption is really high, and they do computer vision-y stuff on icons when the developer
And
hasn't
if
done
you
it.
do all like the widgets like that, though, I want. You know how angry the Duolingo owl gets on the widget? I want to see what it's going to be in like the clear mode, so it can't just angrily glare you down.
Well, it can, it'll just be transparent. Can you pass me a carrot?
So feature-wise, of course, there was
Terry.
Apple Intelligent stuff.
Why am I saying into the microphone?
The headline thing was live translations.
What's interesting is it'll work with people who don't have FaceTime, as in, like, it can do live translation on a phone call. However, the latency does sound like you're talking to someone on the moon.
Then, in terms of other Apple Intelligence features, visual basically circle to search now exists. When you take a screenshot, you can look up what's in the screenshot.
Android.
I was going to say
years
a
ago.
Google feature from
I
years
They
ago.
didn't do that
also-
by accident.
I can sense this news is going to make everyone here very happy. In Image Playground, which is already AI bollocks, last year about we won't do photorealistic stuff because we're really aware of the ethical consequences of. No,
Oh.
you could just.
Yeah,
A
who's
billion
surprised?
iPhone users will be able to do that for free. And
Do they think that people forgot that they said that by now?
yeah,
Is that their
yeah.
hope?
Actually, useful features. Yeah, your iPhone will sit on hold for you now. That's good. I think Google did have that.
Wait, what?
No, they had Google had call screening where if an
So
unknown
that's
number
also
called
coming
you,
to iOS.
an AI voice would go, "Who are you and what do you want?" and then it would like give you a transcription of it and let you decide whether you want to call it. Google had that.
It gets through about who are you and before the scam caller hangs up usually.
What they've now
Which isn't
added
doing
is a
what it gets
feature
intended
where
purpose.
it will now sit in hold for you, listen for the end of the hold music, and then
Yeah.
notify you when you've got to the end, which is going to be
Okay,
great for when
that's
you're calling
good. I was going to
GPs.
say, calling
Yeah.
the doctors. That's perfect.
That's
yeah.
quite good. The only issue is if you don't get to it quick enough and they just hang up, then you're kind
Yeah.
of stuck.
And it's also going to be confused by all the "Did you know you could do all this stuff online?" prompts that keep playing over and
well,
over again.
quite, yeah. So, we'll see how it happens.
In
It's AI, innit?
iMessage, you can now add polls
Wow!
and add
WhatsApp feature
backgrounds,
from like 10
Wow.
years ago.
and you can ask multiple of your friends for cash at the same time.
Oh, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Pay
Now
me.
that's something I'll use.
If you're American, only if you're American. In Apple Music, okay, one of the features I actually like is auto mix. So it will now try, when you're going from one song to another, to match them and make a seamless transition.
Oh,
Okay, that's neat.
I've been trying to listen to it a lot to get a sense
So
of because obviously-
Spotify crossfade.
No,
It's a
but
bit
it's doing
smarter than
some
that.
smarter.
things
So
like
the feature Spotify has on some playlists, but not all of them.
that. So in some cases it just does nothing. That's the worst case scenario. In a lot of cases it will just be like gapless playback essentially. It will just start the next song earlier. And then 5% of the time it will just do a naive crossfade, and then very occasionally it pulls off like a human DJ level transition, and that's very cool when it happens.
cool.
And then also lyrics translation and lyrics pronunciation.
That's
Oh,
cool.
nice.
My
That's
favourite
kinda cool.
feature, visited places. I love the idea of being able to have a view of everywhere I've ever been, basically, especially like source.
Okay,
what
but
kind
the
of
problem
Hang
is-
on, hang on, hang
Yes.
on.
I know that Google has had it for a long time.
I was
I've
gonna-
used various apps for this over the years, and so finally this is going to be a native feature, and I won't have to do anything. And
So
I'm
Now,
happy about
the
it.
thing that makes
I
me
know it-
suspicious about it is
Yeah.
that they've said it's only available in certain countries,
Yeah,
which
about
makes
6
me suspect
countries.
that they're going to try to make it too clever.
It's also not in the beta currently, which is very interesting.
Because like it's
So
actually
it's-
not that hard to implement.
Which very few features are not in the beta right now because they've learnt their lesson from Apple Intelligence last year and only talked about stuff they know they're about to ship.
But not this.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
thing about
sorry.
this is, my one problem with it is, like, I don't necessarily have much of a problem with it, but I know some people will, is the fact that you can have all this data on yourself means they have all this data on
That was
yourself.
my comment a second
In fairness,
ago.
I presume
hear you,
in
sorry.
They
typical
have it anyway.
in typical Apple
Yeah.
fashion, I presume that they would store it end-to-end encrypted,
And on
Yeah.
device, I would assume.
or like on
because
iCloud,
they
but
already
end-to-end
do
encrypted.
significant places
Assuming you
as
trust
something that their apps can use, like for sorting your photos and stuff. This is just exposing it to the user
Yeah.
and I guess giving
Oh,
them-
no, I was fully
yeah.
aware they already collected
Yeah.
this data.
Uh,
It just-
and then there's a new games app.
Not to be confused with Game Center.
No, which still exists. I thought they killed it. In the settings, there are still references to Game Center.
It's an AI will tell you with zero heart or motivation in its voice, "You're doing great."
To be
Use
fair,
text-to-speech for
the
that.
voice is trained specifically on like their Apple Fitness Plus fitness trainers,
But-
so it does have energy. I don't.
Does it though? Because the demo that they had, it just felt so lifeless, and that was the best one that they had that they chose to present at the keynote.
Yeah, it's an interesting feature for sure.
It's a bit naff.
tvOS has one feature worth talking about. You love setting up karaoke setups.
Big
Does-
fan of holding a phone instead of a mic.
Hold on, but how does it handle removing the vocals?
Apple
from it?
Music has that already.
Does it?
Yeah.
For
They have a
every
feature
song?
called Apple Music Sing for a decent number of songs.
I was going to say, because they would have to, unless they're doing some
Yeah.
AI bollocks.
They're doing machine learning on it.
Oh.
That's not generating anything. That's okay.
It's
I know
fine because it's for karaoke. Who
Okay, yeah,
cares?
fine. It's for karaoke.
Mac
Like-
OS. It gets all the
Hang
icon
on, go
theming.
back. That looks like Windows.
It gets the phone app, as does the iPad.
Wait, as in you can phone.
Well, you already could take calls and make them from contacts and stuff, but now there's a standalone app. There's
Well,
a new
that's Slack.
continuity feature where your live activities from your iPhone, which is when you have a delivery coming or something, or whatever, music playing, an alarm, come through on your
Oh,
Mac.
like
Something.
the flight radar.
It's something I've wished they'd had for years.
Yeah, that's nice. Spotlight is going to work. Yes. And
I'll
it's
still
getting-
stick to
Thank
Alfred.
goodness.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
a desktop OS is going to have a working search.
I know. You're gonna be able to execute shortcuts, so actions within apps just by typing them into
Okay, now
into
that's
search.
sexy. I like
It
that.
will search the menu bars of the app you're in. It finally has clipboard history. This is the most exciting feature from the whole WWDC. Finally, I will be able to see the things that I've copied. It's getting like quick key shortcuts as well.
You didn't have clipboard history.
No, we didn't. Let's move on.
No, I don't think we
and then,
should.
Apple Intelligence feature
All right.
number X. In the Shortcuts app, you will now be able to directly query Apple's language models or ChatGPT. One more macOS feature that you're excited about, Marks, is containers.
Yes. Long story short, running containers, if you're interested in what they are, watch a highlight for the previous episode over there, is on macOS has always been a bit of a faff because you've essentially had to run a Linux VM because they are Linux containers and it's been battery hungry. There's been improvements made to it over the years, but it's still a bit battery hungry. Now, Apple have come out and basically done their own take on it, which is sort of like what Microsoft did with WSL, in that they have a little Linux micro VM with some like fancy technologies. And what's also interesting is the command line for it is basically one-to-one with the Docker command line. It's going to be very interesting to how this develops, particularly as it means that Docker is losing its moat. Their moat is currently Docker Hub, which is where a lot of people get their base images from, and a lot of companies pay a lot of money for unrestricted access to it, particularly since they started clamping down on it some time ago. But it'll be interesting to see how this evolves, particularly if there's somebody with the might of Apple in the game.
Now, Matt spoiled my Vision OS segment, so we'll speed through this. It's getting widgets, so you
Wow.
can pin them up on the wall. Hot take, I kind of like the widgets.
Well, you
I
can
also
put them
saw
on
the
the wall and
same
then, like, walk away.
HoloLens.
That is
yeah,
actually kinda-
and it
That
will
is
persist
cool.
even when you
I
turn
quite
the
like it,
headset off and
yeah.
put it back. So you can decorate your wall with like, and they're making them look nice. So Apple Music has like a poster of the music you
Well,
listen to.
that's
And that
kind
sort
of
of
Oh,
thing.
what I
that's
thought
really
it was meant
cool.
to
Do you know
be, so
what?
I quite like it.
That
I like that.
it's kind of selling me on.
For the 3.5 grand Vision Pro.
If it
Yeah,
looks
It
yeah.
like
looks really
this-
cool.
Yeah.
Also,
honestly.
Windows will now persist when you take the headset off and everything, so you can set up your desk as you want it and keep coming
Wait,
back
they
to it.
didn't.
Yeah, they didn't before. moving on.
No. There was the one really exciting Vision OS feature, unless you've included it later.
I probably have. Which one?
The fact that if you and your friend now both have Vision Pros,
That's this feature.
you can sit in the living room, both wearing your Vision Pros, watching the same TV show on the same virtual TV.
Just buy a TV!
Or
Excellent.
you could spend the $7,000 on a banging AV setup.
Just buy a
Brilliant
telly.
One long overdue improvement is the personas. They no longer look like shit. That's the old one. Wait for it.
Oh my
look
god, she's got shoulders
like
now.
shit. Yep.
That's just got creepier.
So that's basically a solved problem, it turns out. This is a fun one. Spatial scenes. So they will now use AI bollocks to analyze any 2D photo and generate the points of what was behind the subject.
Oh, I think
So
we
it,
have a demo.
oh, interesting.
Something that
Because there was the spatial
similar to it.
photos, but then you have to actively take them. This will, and you can generate those from
We
a
had spatial
standard
pictures
photo.
in our demo.
Yeah.
They said this was taken on an iPhone. You can see the people. I
Yeah.
was looking around this family, which was a bit weird, but
Yeah,
I could
that was
kind
the
of
one.
see a shift in perspective.
From what I've
It's
heard,
got
this
a
is like,
compressor on it.
another step up on that in terms of depth, and they're also kind of integrating it into the web so that websites will be able to, when running on Vision Pro, have kind of these spatial scenes in them. The other cool thing about that is you can view them on your iPhone by tilting, so you can convert any photo like that.
It's like
and
that
you
thing
can-
on Facebook that I hate.
No,
Facebook
it's
has the images that move with the phone. They're awful.
oh maybe it's slightly less jank than that,
Oh, no, I
but you can
hate
set them
those,
as
yeah.
your lock screen, and so it's a bit more subtle,
'cause your lock
but it
screen
responds to
kind
the
of
movement of your
automatically-
hand
Yeah.
to give you
Brilliant.
some kind of
You know
depth,
what?
which is
Just sorry, I zoned out, but this demonstration where it's doing the scroll down, it
also you
like
can just
perspective
scroll with your eyes
windows.
now. You don't even need to use your hands. There's an optional setting for that.
Oh,
like
cool.
that looks. That's the
Um,
one thing that's spatial
Also, it will
images are really
natively
sold
play
for.
back like Insta360 and GoPro Fusion footage.
Oh, very
nicely.
cool. That is nice.
That is
Um,
very cool.
As Matt said, external controllers, PlayStation controllers, and also Logitech are making like a stylus for it.
I can play Wii Sports tennis.
Yeah. So some decent quality of life improvements. That it's although they're not producing the actual devices anymore, they're still investing in the platform.
So external controllers. How long
Yeah.
until we can just do full-fledged VR on the Vision Pro?
I mean, you kind of can in an app. It's just not its primary use case. Anyway, iPad OS. They saved kind of the biggest news for last. They finally figured out windowing on iPad.
Oh,
Brilliant.
So-
finally.
You can now just like launch windows and resize them. You'll notice there are 3 little dots in the corner, right? And what they do, one of them is red, one of them is yellow, and one of them is green.
Is this?
Because the red one, it closes the app. The yellow one
my
minimizes
God.
the app, and the green one takes it full screen.
Okay,
That's
but
fascinating.
Yeah. And
'Cause at the
in addition
moment-
to that, there's also this menu at the top. Call it a menu bar at the top of the screen.
Right, okay,
And it
yeah.
has
I'm
kind
seeing
of
what
all
you're
sorts of
driving
different
at.
options.
sorry.
No, we don't have time for your comment.
So, I feel like they've done this before.
They might have done. Anyway,
Yeah.
have you got
You
anything
might
else
be
to
thinking
show
of
us?
Stage Manager, but that was the windows kind
No,
of arranged
I
themselves.
was talking about
Oh, I
macOS.
see.
Excellent.
Yeah, I was talking
Is there
about-
a
Yeah,
limit, like
you've
a
said
minimum?
the funny bit out loud. Anyway,
Is there like a minimum spec, like because for the stage?
It's every iPad.
Oh, okay, nice. Because I know because it's only like the M chips or whatever.
discontinue like mine.
You can also, never seen this before, you can add a folder to the dock. That's crazy,
Brilliant.
isn't it?
Right, next.
And you can decorate them with emoji in different colours and stuff.
Excellent. ADHD overload. Love it.
Preview is on the iPad and the iPhone. Finally, decent software for viewing PDFs.
Great.
Next.
You guys didn't have software for
Background
PDFs
tasks.
before?
This is quite fun. It can now export a video in the background without the app open. You couldn't
Crazy.
do that before.
You guys can't do something in the background.
Local capture. Now, if you want to do a podcast, like when we can't all get in the same room, you can record your video call and your local audio easily.
Would
on
that
the
work?
iPad.
Is that only for FaceTime, or would it work with
No,
other
it's-
apps as well?
it works on other apps.
Okay,
Oh,
that's actually
nice.
not terrible.
Yeah, that's good.
The only
Disney-
person who's often remote doesn't have any Apple products.
Skill issue.
Well,
Oh, well.
we'll be the
You can
local
borrow
ones. They
one
can
of
be
theirs,
remote.
yeah. And Dizzy, you might like this 3D graphing in Notes.
Ooh.
That's fun.
Oh, I do like that a lot.
Cool, that's WWDC.